Kelly's Court is back in session. On the docket today, a woman behind the wheel has a seizure and kills 5 people, including 3 children. Now she is charged with homicide. The prosecution saying she had a seizure 5 years earlier. She was warned not to drive again until she had seen a neurologist, but she ignored that advice. The defense says that warning never happened.
I get that this is a point of contention, but I submit to you, nobody told her not to drive. Is it even within the realm of possibility that a doctor who's working long-hour shifts, most likely, who sees 4,000 to 5,000 patients a year, might not tell a patient who, by all accounts, is perfectly fine that she shouldn't drive?
Joining me now, former prosecutor, now defense attorney Janice Bilbor, and defense attorney Brian Claypool. Brian, the prosecution is painting a picture of a woman who negligently ignored the advice of her doctors and had not 1 but 2 prior seizures, then got behind the wheel to the entire community's peril and wound up negligently killing a family of 5. Do they have the goods?
Well, I personally think they do, because driving is a privilege anywhere in this country. It's not a right, it's a privilege, and you have to earn that privilege. And if Ms. Chavez was put on notice twice, in 2006 and 2011, that she has symptoms consistent with a seizure disorder, she has a duty to everybody in that community to go out and get checked and get treated for that seizure disorder. Otherwise, she's putting everybody in peril when she gets in an automobile. And Megan, an automobile is like a weapon. It's like a deadly weapon.
It's a dangerous instrumentality, as we call it in the law.
It clearly is.
And Jana, the prosecution is saying that that this was preventable. She had a duty. They said, rest assured, we don't believe this was an accident. If this woman had 2 prior seizures and willingly got behind the wheel without having any medication to address a seizure disorder, is she guilty of criminally negligent homicide?
No, Megan, and here's why. The 2011 seizure was diagnosed by her husband. Her husband's not a doctor, so we're really only dealing with a doctor who saw her in 2006, 5 years earlier. That is so remote. How could we possibly say that she could have envisioned something happening while she's behind the wheel 5 years later?
But if she was warned back then in 2006, don't get behind the wheel of a car until you've seen a neurologist, which she never did.
The doctor himself could have contacted the DMV, because he's allowed to report that. If he thought it was such an issue, he should have done that. And Megan, look, every obese smoker who gets behind the wheel is a heart attack waiting to happen. Are we going to hold fat people liable if they have an accident?
But isn't there an increased risk? Listen, stand by, because I want to bring in before we're going to carry court over. But let me bring in Dr. Mark Siegel as our medical expert on this. Dr. Siegel, can one who has a seizure disorder get behind the wheel of a car generally?
Megan, this is very complicated, but here, let me make it simple. If it's a diagnosed seizure disorder and they're not properly medicated for it, they should not get behind the wheel of a car. However, in 2006, when she had that blackout, we don't know for sure that she had a seizure. What she needed to do was follow up with a physician once you have a blackout, have an electroencephalogram called an EEG, and figure out if you really have a seizure or not.
Let me ask you that, because we're short on time, but I want to ask you, Doc, before we go to the break. They said, the defense says she followed up with her primary care doctor at some clinic, but not with a neurologist. Is that sufficient?
That's right. Well, if sufficient, if the primary care doctor knows what he's doing and says, get yourself a neurological workup. By the way, when she went to fill out her driver's license form, it asks if you have an underlying medical condition. I think that she did, and I think she probably does have a seizure, and I think it needed to be diagnosed, needed to be fully worked up, but I'm not sure that that rises to the level of negligent homicide, honestly.
We're going to continue that discussion, and I'm going to go to Brian with his thoughts right after this break. Don't go away. My question for you, Brian Claypool, is does it all come down to whether in 2006 she was in fact warned by the doctor to see a neurologist and to not drive before she had seen a neurologist? If she was given that warning, is this case over for her?
Megan, I don't even think it matters whether a formal warning or not was given by the emergency room doctor in 2006. The symptoms she had in 2006 and again in 2011. Let's fast forward to 2011. She's in a McDonald's parking lot, passes out, she's biting her tongue vigorously. That is a clear symptom of a seizure disorder. She then has a duty to everybody to go and get that treated. There's no excuse. Doctors, lawyers, police officers, we can't We can't police every person and tell them to go to the doctor.
But Dr.
So if you
Siegel,
don't
is
go
it
to the
strange
doctor-
that 5 years would have passed without any seizures? You know, one in 06 and then another one in 11, and she has a seizure disorder?
That can actually happen, Megan, but one thing I disagree with is we don't know that she has a seizure disorder. I think there's enough evidence here that she should have gotten seen and examined and worked up for it, but a lot of things can look like that, and it's not 100% certain that this is a seizure, and that's an important point.
But she hasn't. She
Go ahead,
hasn't
Brian.
even been checked for a seizure.
She
hasn't
should have
even
been.
been checked. There's
She
no
should have
evidence
been.
at all.
John, how
She
do
should
we
have been.
adequately
That's
police
gross
this?
negligence.
How do we adequately police this in a criminal justice system when you've got people who are drug addicts who drive, people who are alcoholics who drive behind the wheel and never get caught, people who have narcolepsy who wind up getting behind, and fall asleep at the wheel?
Exactly. Why should we impose criminal liability on those people, Megan, when I agree with Dr. Siegel? We didn't know what her condition was. And number two, are we going to start jailing people because they don't go to the doctor? We can't force anybody to go to the doctor and get a diagnosis, can we? And we certainly can't throw them in jail if they don't.
You're not going to believe this.
No.
I don't think this has ever happened before. But we have a Kelly's Court verdict on our current Kelly's Court that is breaking right now. A jury has just ruled in this woman's case moments ago. And she was found not guilty.
Yes.
Yeah.
And John, yes, so there you go. I win. She was found not guilty. We'll leave it at that. Before I let you go, Dr. Siegel has a bit of a celebration tomorrow as he celebrates his birthday. Happy birthday, Doc.
We're not
birthday.
going to say what year, but thank you.
Happy birthday. All right, we'll be right back. Panel, thank you.
Thanks.